Happy Friday. We have made it to the end of the traditional American work week. Congratulations. We're going to do 1 hour today, finish with about 10 minutes before wake up bar stool. And we're starting with some seated twists. You guys hear me ramble on about twists quite a bit. And I think seated twists are a nice way to open up, loosen up the back, engage the pecs and the arms, and just start to get that blood flowing. Back a little for the view. Take my right hand, put it behind my back. Stretch the left up. Other side. Flip right over to our stomachs. Child's pose. For Wonton Don. Everybody with any kind of lower back, groin, hip, soreness issues. These cat cows are magical. Go into our donkey kicks, plant the left knee, right knee to right elbow, straight up in the air. Right into our fire hydrants. Better view. Now the key is if anybody walks in this fucking gym, I am jumping on that treadmill. What you're looking at right now is a very beat up Matthew Piper Jenks, in that anyone who's close to me knows I have a terrible sleep eating affliction. And it's real. It's like literally like Step Brothers. I levitate out of my bed, maybe 10% conscious, 90% muscle memory. And I go looking typically for Cliff Bars. And it causes a lot of issues for me in the morning. Last night was night 3 of being clean off the Cliff Bars. And I guess my subconscious went full Frank the Tank, nuclear freakout mode. And I don't know how many times, but I woke up on my feet several times last night. In my living room, in my kitchen, in my bedroom. And each time I woke up, meaning I kind of really came all the way back to, I realized I was just looking for Cliff Bars, but I didn't have any. So the good news is I'm still clean. I didn't eat anything. The bad news is I am exhausted. That's why it started a little late today. But got my ass up, made my bed, and here we are, upward facing dog. Anybody else that battles sleep eating, if you got any tips, I try to eat a big dinner early, try to just overhydrate myself. At this point, I think it's just muscle memory and mental. My body just doesn't even need the food anymore. Over the knees. pedal our calves. So you can tell I'm kind of going through the regular routine, but with a different flow. So it's a little more stimulating for me mentally. I have to think a little more, which again, I'm really tired, so it's a good way to help wake me up. We're going to do 5 knee to elbow planks. Step through. One arm down, one arm up. Donnie Does World, Wonton Don. It's another really good one for your lower back, for your groin. Other side. Now, the other nice thing is this week we, I think, had our best week out. See, I'm tired. The best week of workouts, considering we had our career high pull-up day, we had some insane sit-up days, and then yesterday on a weekday, I ran for a straight hour plus on top of a, light yoga workout. So we're just crushing. We keep stacking. I had a great call with a Barstool colleague last night who is going to remain anonymous for now. But we just had a long talk about health and about a lot of the anxieties the person feels getting into trying to be more healthy. And forget about doing it like publicly or posting everything like me or Frank or anything like that. Just psychologically, it was very interesting talking through the reasoning of what's holding the person back and the mental gymnastics in their head about why or why not to do something. And I think it really went well. And I'm very excited in the coming weeks for that person to win and then hopefully update everybody. It was really interesting, though, because the person said almost, for some people, it gets to a point where they resent when everyone's telling them, you should exercise, you should diet, you should do this, you should do that. It's almost like a fuck you to not do it. And my whole thing was, the second you start making decisions based on what other people think, particularly to spite what your haters think, you're losing it. You're not doing it the right way anymore. You got to do things that are good for you, particularly things that make you stronger, sharper, and more capable, because then you are going to be able to do more. You got to start doing it for yourself. If you got family, if you got kids, you got fans, your health itself, there's a million reasons. But the primary thing is you got to do for yourself, not for other people, not for likes and popularity online. You got to love it, and you got to see it as a way of showing yourself some love when life can be kind of tough. Days like today when I'm tired and I still get in and I can feel my abs ripping right now, it does everything for me psychologically. Everything. And I couldn't give less of a F if anybody judges me for being a gym rat. Like, I know I'm a weirdo. Mikey Betts told me. Anybody that looks forward to running every day, there's something wrong with me. I accept that. That's fine. A lot worse things to have wrong with you. All right, let's stretch a little more on our feet. Already feeling nice and warm. A lot more energy than when I woke up. Basically woke up at 5 and ended up sleeping in until like 6:30, which is pretty embarrassing for a 36-year-old man that should be able to get his ass out of bed. But I swear to God, guys, I looked like a explorer in Antarctica throughout the night, just lost looking for those cliff bars that didn't exist. Shout out to Jack Mack in the New York office, one of the great news correspondents of our time. He said to me in the office, because he knows about my cliff bar addictions and issues. Great guy, by the way, Jack Mack. One of my better friends at the company, I'd say, I talk to him every day. But he was like, you're a Jake, you probably just shouldn't have him in the house. Specifically, I think he was saying it because of the unconscious factor. I was like, no, I think it's better to have him in the house because then I have to make the decision not to eat him. Let me tell you something, Jack Mack. Last night, you couldn't have been more right, brother. If I had 2 6-packs of Cliff Bars, I'd be digesting 12 of them right now. And that is not fun, guys. Don't eat workout energy bars right before you go to bed. It's as dumb as it sounds, maybe even dumber. And like any terrible addiction, you don't know how you end up getting there. You just hit rock bottom eventually, and you're like, oh my God, I really need to get my shit together. I think that was Monday for me. Sunday night I did not. Monday I could hardly move. I don't remember what I did on the live stream, but I was in extreme pain. Balance stretch. Oh, see a cockroach in the corner of the gym like that. Keep it humble, not rich. I wonder how often rich people see cockroaches. Maybe in like cartoons. Okay, some air squats, and then we'll get run. The forearms, the biceps, very much recovered. I mean, almost fully recovered compared to 2 days ago and even yesterday, where it felt like I had ice picks stuck in them. And that was the best kind of soreness, where I really knew I couldn't do exercises on those muscles, but I also knew I did not strain them. And once you can differentiate in your brain sore and hurt, it's big for you. Because you never want to work through hurt unless you're, a pro athlete or something. But soreness is a sign that you actually, you challenge yourself. You push your muscle beyond what it's used to, so it's sore. That means it's going to grow. But what you have to do is reactivate those muscles as soon as you can. Not the day after, but 2, 3, 4 days after. Go right back and build off of the progress. Does that mean we do 100 pull-ups today? No. But we're going to do some. We're going to remind those muscles, hey, we're back, baby. Oh, I don't see all my comments up. Sorry, guys. I'll check them in 1 second. I'm just finishing my air squats. Go up to our tippy toes. One thing you might notice too, probably not, but first let's do this stretch. Left elbow over right knee, looking up. squats. One thing you'll notice is I wear my Vettery shirt, my Vettery hat quite a bit. And that's the company where I worked for Brett Adcock, who now runs Figure. Check it out, Figure Robots. He's the guy that hired me after I needed to move back to America from Italy because I was 26 and hadn't made any real money in Italy, needed health care. I'm not a trust fund baby. I've earned all of my self-worth, both financially and every other way, by myself and my friends. Long story short, Italian work culture is not exactly like America. And Brett work culture is not exactly like American. So I went from piano, non c'è un problema, Matteo, dobbiamo mangiare prima, non devo lavorare tutto giorno, to Brett, that was, my boss told me to chill out, to Brett Adcock every day, basically proving to me that I'm being soft because there's more. I can always do more. Got to the point where when I closed sales deals, subscriptions with like an ACV of $36,000, largely based on what we projected, not even a material object that we were handing over. So a more complex consultative sale. I realized no deal was going to impress Brett. So what I did was I completely changed my style. And rather than running over to him and telling him, here's the company, Vettery, every time I closed a deal, I would just sit at my desk, send our accountant, Russell, an email with the signed contract as a PDF, and I would CC Brett. And I would not make a sound or a movement. I would just keep working. If you ever want to impress a sales boss or manager, not even impress, get the respect. Start closing deals and acting like you've been there before. And Jordan would hit those game winners and just put his hand up. Wasn't surprised. I stopped acting surprised. I went on to close our biggest partnership with Capital One Bank. When Brett first hired me, I didn't have a title. Maybe one of the first 3 salesmen. Only me and Logan survived. Third one went into HR because Brett was such a fucking maniac with us. 5 p.m. Friday sales meeting in person. You have to have a report on what exactly you did the entire week, what you accomplished, most importantly, what you failed at and why, and then how you're going to rectify it. Let's do a couple of I don't know why my brain is blanking. I'm sometimes so tired. But when I first got that sales role, it was just I don't know what they called us, talent executive maybe even was the title at first. I asked, because I saw on the list Capital One, I asked if I could do a demo with Capital One. And Brett laughed and said, yeah, you take it, Jenks. Because of the 3 original salesmen, I had the lowest expectations. The others had other like traditional kind of American jobs. I was the weirdo from Italy. When I asked for Capital One, he laughed and gave it to me because apparently he had pitched Capital One a couple times when the company was even smaller before they hired more people. And the people there just kind of laughed at the notion. So he wanted to see basically what I would be able to do in an impossible situation. It's like a dead on arrival kind of account. Long story short, I got them to do a pilot. I got them to renew for 66 or so. don't know if I can say numbers. And then they eventually signed a 2-year deal. That was by far our biggest deal, by far, in company history. And it helped propel us toward our $110 million acquisition. So when I'm tired, I always wear my battery because I'll never forget getting phone calls from Brett Adcock on Sunday night telling me it's going to be very hard for us to succeed when our top sales guys are pussy. Things of that nature. Not those exact words. But you go to bed on Sunday night knowing I got to wake up tomorrow for war. And that's what Vettery always reminds me of. Since the acquisition and rebranding stuff, Vettery is no longer a standing commodity. But the memories on those sales floors, those meetings, used to call it LDOM, last day of the month, last day of the fiscal quarters. I put on eye black face paint. I always carried around a 50-pound sledgehammer. And one thing I'll tell you, if you're in sales, if your sales manager or leader never ever gets on sales calls, it's a big red flag, in my opinion. It's not that they always should. That's where I made a mistake. We scaled up so quickly. I had to parachute in for closing calls all the time because we just couldn't afford misses. We couldn't afford losing pitches, which is okay normally because you need that learning process. But we had to hit on everything. So I parachuted on the last calls and said, slam them shut. Your sales leader is obsessed with KPIs and metrics and buzzwords, but you've never actually seen the person get on the phone or go in person and change someone's mind. Not inbound, not a hot lead. I'm talking about what a salesperson does. This turns a skeptic into a champion of their product, of their mission, of their pitch. I have so much passion for it because the grind was so hard. Nothing was so rewarding and electric as working for Brett. Going head to head with a competitor that had $100 million in funding when we had $9.8 million in funding. They had more inventory. We were better at pitching, better at closing, quicker response time. Our business was recruitment, specifically tech talent. So another huge variable were the candidates, that these companies that were using our platform, almost like a Expedia type thing. You set your filters, you find the kind of software engineer your company needs. Even if prospective employers find perfect matches to hire, tech candidates tend to be a bit more introverted. They're not like sales candidates. So when they're getting interviewed, they can be quite coy in terms of giving updates on how they're thinking, feeling, what they're prioritizing, what other companies they're interviewing with. So, as someone who was living in Italy for 4 years and didn't know how to use a spreadsheet, I learned, the way I like to say it is, it's like if you're trying to learn about NFL football, you don't actually need to go play football. Of course, you'll never be a true, thorough expert unless you put the pads on. What I'm saying is you can learn the rules, learn the positions, right? So for me, I could never code, never do anything technical, but I knew what full stack engineer versus back end versus front end, JavaScript, Java, Python, Ruby on Rails, you name it. DevOps, engineers, all that kind of stuff. Both to sign up for being on our platform for free. But the harder part was when they were in the interview process, understanding their thinking and conveying that back to our client, helping them first close the candidate or interview. So that was kind of the close one. At that point, our client owes us money because they've hired someone through our platform. Now you got the live negotiation. Now you have to close. Because if client X hired John Doe for $100,000, they was 15% of the base salary, which is $15,000. They still have 3 more hires for the rest of the year. So I take my heart and I cut it out with a fucking steak knife. And I put it on the table. And I say, dip your pen in my fucking blood and sign the contract, because you will make 4 hires through us. And if you just pay an additional X amount, we'll give you unlimited hiring for the next 12 months. I'd write down my phone number. This is again where I think the office is an underrated sales show. I would pull the Dwight Schrute. Basically explain, I have no personal life, I have no social life. I'm available on holidays. I don't celebrate any major religions. Here are all my personal ways of contacting me. And there's absolutely no line or limit in terms of what you can ask for or reach out about. And what I learned between being a salesman in Italy to being a salesman for Brett, who's a genius, is that what people would buy more often than not is the story. That's what we all love, our great stories. And most of all, if we can be part of them. So if you can integrate their story, which you first need to get out of them, you need to get them to talk first. Don't start pitching. Understand who you're pitching to. Take the personal story, your life. You condense it into whatever is the most fucking interesting. Whatever most seamlessly integrates with the business pitch. And what I used to do was to take every bit of advice from these traditional sales experts, hunt it off the bridge like Jack Black and Baxter and Anchorman. And instead I'd go Michael Scott. I'd spend as much time like in Chili's getting to know the person, getting to know just the smallest thing that might piss them off, that I can lean into, that I can work against, that I can pitch against. And that's how we get the closes. To be clear, I also followed the fucking through. So after they signed, I do everything to make sure they got their ROI and just remain on call for them. It's what we call full cycle sales. No account executive, account manager. No, just fucking manage everything, save the money, a ton of company. Sorry, save the company a ton of money. Don't double headcount for no reason. By doing it that way, prove yourself after the signature. Now you start building up a book of reference calls. So after you cut that heart out, put it on the table, now you can tell your prospective client, why don't you call my existing client? Because he heard some of these promises, and he can tell you exactly what happened after that ink dried on the contract. Sorry, that blood. Sign that blood, big boy. never into tech, never knew anything about engineering. But by having an open mind and really working at Bettery, because it gave me proximity to a guy that I could just so clearly see greatness in, Brett, I went in with passion. And Brett's passion was absolutely contagious. He sat on the open floor. He worked amongst all of us. He was not tucked away in an office. If any team had a problem, he'd get in there and do it himself. So no matter how hard I worked, I knew the guy paying me was working hard. I didn't think it. It wasn't an opinion. I knew it. I could see his activity, both in life, in person, going in early, staying late every single day, weekends, and then everything was on a thing in our system called the process tracker. Brett would be in that bitch any day, anytime. First time we went on a business trip, we all thought we could take a deep breath and not feel like we were walking on eggshells. And it took about 4 hours until we realized the worst thing possible was Brett on an airplane with Wi-Fi, with no distractions, because he would go Brett IRS mode, audit everything, everybody's work, start auditing like a machine. He was the robot before we started building it. I'll never forget, you hear the little G-chat notification in your ear. When you got one of those from Brett, never to say, hey, we always have about one sentence with a sharp question about something you very much fucked up or missed. I think a lot of people avoid jobs and bosses like that. A lot of people have preached work-life balance and, oh, you deserve this, you deserve that. And they forget, this is America. It's a land of capitalism. If you want to work your way up, you have to be a fucking killer. And to be a killer, you got to be willing to get the living shit beat out of you. You got to be tough. Killers don't just roll over and die the first time they're challenged. Brett used to challenge me so much, I get so fucking fired up. You come out on the other side of that too. You're not the same person. You saw it through. It's just like the exercise thing. Even if, no matter what I suggest for you, you're just not really enjoying it for those first couple months in a very counterintuitive way. Any of you that resonates with, you've tried it before, you've given up after a couple weeks, you just can't stand it. You try it again, but you keep going. You don't stop. You're going to feel more reward, gratitude, and flip of how your brain's wired than the people that it feels easy to in the beginning. The harder the breakthrough, the bigger the outcome. And the more out of shape you might be, the bigger the opportunity is. Same thing with those tough bosses. Now, if they're just an asshole, they're just an asshole. But if deep down you know your biggest problem with your boss is they hold you accountable and they're smarter than you, they're challenging you, do not run away. Run in to the fire. Right into it. And the worst case scenario is you get fired and you go down and swim. Once you start running away from challenges, once you run away from one challenge, that will become habitual. That will become your fallback. That will become your go-to. And then one day you're going to wake up in bed and be old, and you're going to realize that's your legacy. Life is so short. Every time you blink, that's what a lifetime is. It's just going to go. The older you get, the more you realize it's true. Years just bleed together. If you don't attack the moment, you will ask yourself later what you were waiting for. It's fucking Friday. Let's get it. Wake up Barstool in 35 minutes. It was really funny yesterday. Yesterday, Dave was in the office, which there's no way of knowing, for a pedestrian like myself, what days or times he might be in the New York office. But that's where my sales background comes in handy, because you don't ever need to worry about that if you simply come in early and leave late. Now, the caveat is I'm out walking with Frank. Might be MIA for a couple hours. Frank wasn't in yesterday, so I was happy to be at my post. Also, shout out to Jager, first New Jersey fireman to go to a Devils game with Frank. And Frank's season ticket neighbor is an Army vet. He saw what Frank's doing and decided to jump in and say, any games that he doesn't make, he's going to let me know. And he specifically wants to give his tickets to any veterans out there. So I will let you guys know if any of those open up. Right, just about 2 miles. We're going to do an abbreviated march uphill because we had such a great cardio day yesterday. I want to make sure we get at least 30 minutes of band work on the old beat up arms. Maybe I really was hungry because I'm hungry right now. Almost never happens when I'm exercising. I was literally searching my house like fucking Nick Cage in National Treasure, just trying to find a Cliff Bar to ram down my throat. And it's just crazy because I kept getting up. Like I knew I was volunteering for a impossible task. Not unlikely, not improbable. I didn't have any Cliff Bars. I mean, one night I might sleepwalk to CVS, and then we might have some serious problems. Because if I'm sleepwalking down the road, 50-50 I die. I really should probably see a medical professional. I can't describe to you guys what it's like waking up 4 to 5 times in a night on your feet. I did plenty of crazy drugs when I was younger, but different kind of trippy. Even, salvia, probably the only thing that's similar. Salvia, yeah, that'd be the one. Those 45 seconds when it really takes you to the moon. It's funny, you drink alcohol, you think it's nuts. You smoke weed, you think it's nuts. Do some harder stuff, you think it's nuts. You do psychedelics, you think all of that was nothing. You're like, oh, whoa. There's this whole other fucking thing I didn't even realize. From there, stuff like salvia, DMT. By the way, I strongly recommend not doing any drugs. But those ones make you acutely aware of the fragility of your brain and how it's your brain that dictates reality, perception, essentially what real life is. It's what your brain makes it. It's a powerful lesson to learn too, because you'll be able to talk about a good trip, a bad trip. If you let your thoughts go negative, they can get really shitty. Whereas if you let your thoughts go positive, you cry in laughter. So if you forget about all the drugs, that predisposition, that subconscious decision, am I going to go positive? Am I going to go negative? Go light, go dark, go proactive, go self-pity. It puts out an energy. It's going to create your reality. It's going to change your perception. Not on the same level as when you're on salvia, but the power of the brain is the continuity between the two. Every experience is an illusion that your brain allows. Particularly, everything in the past, whatever you imagine in the future. The only thing you can feel any real security in is the present. That's why you got to attack it. All right. Let's get a pump. Still can't believe that guy on Tuesday caught me in front of the treadmill and then didn't wash down the machine. Still waiting for that pump to show his face. Thank you, Body Armor. CEO Federico, the legend. Yeah, I'm listening to Akon right now. So, all right, let's wash it down. One time, me and my buddy Chase skipped school, woke up really early, and then played, it's high school, played beer pong with cereal and beer. I don't know why. I think we were listening to Akon. That's why. And we got so hammered. Oh my God. And then when my mother came to pick me up in the afternoon, I think I was probably 16 or so. I played it super fucking cool. She had no idea. And the show just went on. It's one of my early moves where I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. British parents are typically not helicopter parents, and my friends were all lunatics, so I got to get some street smart lessons on a PhD level from a young age. I always tell my boys back home, that's all those sales meetings, I would always just think of them going into those fist fights and be like, all right, no reason to be scared here. No one gonna punch me in the face. All right, let's see if we can still do pull-ups. 20. Nice. Actually getting better at pull-ups, guys. And it's for the exact reason I've been pitching. You'd think I'm selling these like George Foreman grills. But regardless of brand, you can get good bands. Did 151 pull-ups 2 mornings ago in one workout. You saw me just hop up there. Well, still a little sore and rip 20. It's the stretching. It's all those plank stretches that strengthen our shoulders and traps. But it's also this band work. Where right now I'm doing hammer curls, and you can see how much my forearm and my grip is being pushed. It's gonna make your pull-ups so much more feasible, regardless of your starting point. Now I'm doing reverse. Do a quick review of the 3 variants. So there's regular. See my palms facing toward the sky. Hammer. Palms are parallel to one another. And reverse. Palms facing the ground. And the big difference here, compared to dumbbells, look at how tight my elbows are. The lack of movement. The isolation of the muscles we're targeting. And also the symmetry and speed of reps. You can maybe get that a little bit on a machine, but you're also going to get more support. Whereas here, the resistance falls really on your muscles. You don't really have a leverage point like you do on the machine to work off of. Also, big shout out to my bosses, and a lot of people have helped me at Barstool, so I don't mean to exclude anyone. But I think the biggest breakthrough for me getting the job was the day Big Cat and Dave were on the PJ, private jet. For those of you that don't know, that's what PJ is. And I was with Frank a couple days earlier, and I think it just came up on Dave's feed of Frank doing the woo, woo with Ric Flair. And Dave started laughing. And that's one huge advantage I've had from day one that other people don't have, is Dave has this love for Frank that's so beautiful. And he's so proud of him, you know. I think Frank, in a way, is probably the closest thing, and maybe Dave will say I'm an idiot for saying this, but it feels like it's the closest thing he has to like a kid. Like that's like his child that he's taken care of and raised and brought into the world. So he sees the video and he laughs. Point being, most of the time when Dave sees his employees' content, it's not always going to be the most positive reaction. And Big Cat, I think, had been waiting for the right moment, and to his credit, just fucking nailed it. And then pitched me to Dave, pitched the idea of hiring me. And it's incredible to hear because he really didn't know me. He knew, obviously, he knew who I was, and he'd interacted with me many times, been very nice to me on Twitter. He'd done all the yak stuff and helped coordinate. You know, he got me to that point in a lot of ways. But he didn't really know me personally. He's a very busy guy. We never, had a heart-to-heart or anything. Yet, when you hear him talk to Dave, he nails it. He says, this Jenks guy obviously wants a job. I feel like he could work with Frank and help make him more sellable because he's got a sales background. And 2 years later, it's crazy to think. It's crazy to think how far we've come. Now, would I like to increase the money we're bringing into Barstool? Let me put on the record emphatically, absolutely, 1,000,000% yes. However, I'm in a producer role, not a sales role. So it's not something I can just act on, if that makes sense, without pissing off a whole lot of people. But if you're working at a company that's looking for creative marketing, I can tell you, you won't find a better team that will be more committed than Fleming Enterprises and Barstool. We take our sponsorships, like I said, as you know, there's nothing more personal to me than business, Michael Scott. And you can see with Body Armor being our big sponsor on Frank Walks, I think of them as like family. I love those guys. They're the best. Frank and I drink it with just relentless loyalty. Doesn't matter if cameras are around. Put a competitor in front of us. We're dying of thirst. We'll pour that shit out. All right, I haven't even looked at the comments. I apologize, guys. Florida Nightmare. What's up, brother? Ethan, Veronica. Basically my breakfast club. My breakfast club. How much time do we got? 19 minutes. All right, Wonton Don, if you're awake and watching, or if anybody wants to clip this for him, if you want to do cat-cows, you want your lower back to try to eventually start sinking just beneath those hips and have that butt pop out. That's where you're going to really stretch the lower back. And also right on this movement, your groin is also going to feel a nice stretch. Another good one are the circles. These are going to feel very tough at first, especially if you're stiff. So maybe smaller circles, right? But work your way up. 5 forward and then 5 backward. Opening up the hip flexor. Feels like an unnatural movement. Practice it enough, it feels supernatural. And then your functional strength, when you're everything from squeezing into a packed car to trying to wiggle your way through a crowded subway when you're commuting to whatever the fuck. Maybe you're fucking, you know? Whatever it is, you wildly mitigate your risk of unintentional injury in everyday life. Let me tell you something, when you get in your 30s and you start pulling muscles by like getting out of cabs, it is fucking depressing. I think that's the last time I wasn't in good shape was in those veteran years. I was working so hard, I kind of let the gym go for a little bit. I was going to a meeting in a taxi. Actually, never forget it. And I simply shifted in my seat. I didn't, just a subtle little fucking movement. And I tore my right triceps. And it was such a pain in my ass, working with one arm, basically. I realized it's not about how you look or how much you can lift or how fast you can run. It's about avoiding those moments. That's the most valuable part of all of it. Health is also the omission of injury. So when you're saying getting healthy, you're also talking about missing future ticking time bombs that will go off if you don't ever take care of yourself. Oh, that was a good crack. These thrusts are also great for our hip, groin, lower back. It's known more for how it's going to be like 2 ice picks in your glutes and build up your butt muscle, but also great on those other parts. And obviously, if you are sleeping with someone significantly heavier than you, being able to bridge here like a rock If you've got, let's say, a 300 to 600 pound girlfriend, this is going to be critical to your core strength. Because if you don't get good at this, you might get seriously injured. And that's just a fact. And that goes for all the ladies too that have got those big boys. If you got viscera, you got to be ready for that kind of weight. Shout out. I think that's what he was saying. Viscera for the Ministry of Darkness. Bring it in. Let one leg go across. Try to keep your arms flat. Okay. Let's get back to our bands. Got a couple hundred sit-ups in, air squats in, we got our running, we got a good set of 20 pull-ups too. Yes, the goddamn Jets are right. What kind of world are we living in? The Jets are right. Let me tell you, goddamn Jets, I love your handle, first of all. Second of all, Big Daddy, fantastic movie. Third of all, how did they cover against the Broncos? I picked the Broncos, and in my head last week, that was like my absolute no way it's going to miss type game in my head. And then it's just like weird Jets fucking voodoo stuff. That end of the first half, where a Super Bowl head coach led team just takes out a automatic machine gun and unloads a clip on their own foot to take a touchdown and completely flip it into whatever the fuck Aaron Glenn was doing. Running down the clock slowly. One of the most, that guy, good Lord. He looks Mike McDaniel checked in. But anyways, how did the Jets cover? Good God. Probably going to get killed this weekend. I should have gone against them. Unless they have a bye. I can't remember. All right, we're doing our shoulders. Hardest part, which I put up on a YouTube short, is going to be right here. Going straight press. Keep that perfect symmetry. Don't sink all the way down. You want to sink to right here. Bring your elbows straight out in front of you without quite touching them. And right on that motion, when we're coming across the middle, you're going to really feel a stab of pain, of burn, I should say, in your traps. Again, great for the pull-ups. Wake up bar stool in 12 minutes. Oh, and shout out Mikey Betts, won a big bet last night. Woke up to that text this morning. I'm the old guy in the group. Frank and Mikey will be up till 12 midnight, 1, 2, watching games. Old Janksy boys sleepwalking at that point. Pick happiness up, bring back to my share. We'll be okay one day, no valley we will stay. All right. Anybody that travels a lot, say your company doesn't have big budget. I'm being serious. I've had a ton of sales roles like this. So you're never going to be staying in hotels with gyms where most they got a treadmill. 80-pound band. This is like if I took 2 of these fucking 40-pound dumbbells and put it in my check bag. Except I can roll this up and put it in my pocket. And then when I get to my hotel, if I want to get a pump, this isn't just, little tens. It's like doing 40-pound curls. It's legitimate weight. And your form is going to be so much more precise when you're not swinging around the dumbbells. Slow, deliberate reps. We're going reverse here on the heavy weight, focusing in on those forearms. Days went by, and amusement cried. I decided it's time, got to move on now. But I was so scared, I was frightened, I was someone delighted to change our shoes. Now we walk through a valley of color, much better than the other. Wait, did I know? Now we can be united, you still. Miracle, miracle sighted. You don't know by now, we can walk together at a regular speed. You dare to be excited, now you're aware, somewhat delighted. Now you're aware, somewhat delighted. What you did not know, no. Or, baby, OAR. Let's take it to the city on down. Fuck. So what we're doing right now is what I would basically call band burnout, where I got the ice pick feeling back in my biceps. We're going with a heavyweight, and we know with closing time looming here, we really want to maximize our pump. So it's a very simple workout today, but clean, efficient, nice cardio, nice yoga, some back work for Wonton Don, pumping the arms up a bit. Even got 20 nice pull-ups in one set. And I'm going from waking up today feeling exhausted to having a streak, jolt of energy at me. Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know how many I did, but that was fucking hard. Always open to your guys' feedback too. I'm honored to see there's more and more people that are joining. If I talk too much, if you want more Jenks history, Frank history, Mikey Betts history, NBA history, sales, career, travels, Stu Feiner. I hear from Mincy almost every day. That's a whole nother fucking story. I mean, I got a lot to share with y'all. While I continue to try to turn myself into Sylvester Stallone in Rocky IV. He's like a piece of iron. Like a piece of iron. And I'm waiting for you, JJ Watt. I'm waiting for you, big dog. I know you're 6 times stronger than me and 10 times bigger. But I want to drag you out to the deep end. I want to get you on the pull-up bar. I want to get you on the ground. Get you on the tread. Get you on the hills. Get you stretching. Get you bridging. Get you doing shit that's not your bread and butter. Going to the deep end, JJ. Just come hop in the water. Come for a little swim. For those of you that do watch the stream, I can't wait for the day. I probably won't even announce. Those of you that are loyal will be rewarded. But there will be a day when this live stream opens and future NFL Hall of Famer, unless he already is inducted, I don't know how quickly you're eligible in the NFL, but obvious Hall of Famer JJ Watt pops on here, whether he's with me in person or doing it remotely. And we rip a full workout together. That, my friends, is going to be a fun day. And I know I can't lift the weight he can, but that's the point. When I'm trying to encourage people of all levels to do exercise. Even if he can lift more weight, it doesn't mean I can't kick his ass in other ways. And I'm coming for you. Honestly, he'll probably end up killing me that day because he is actually what we call a professional athlete, monster, gifted, physical god. And I'm what you call a lunatic with an engine. So when you put the god against the lunatic with an engine, the lunatic with the engine will make a run. Don't get me wrong. But eventually the engine explodes and everyone inside dies. Burnout here. A couple minutes left. See how I'm really holding it at the flex point at the top. Biceps burning extra oil there. Feels fantastic. Did our triceps yesterday. I think we'll do more on our shoulders this weekend. Definitely be live streaming this weekend. Today was really exactly what we want. Good stretching, yoga, air squats, sit-ups, cardio, and the pump. It's good to see we can still do our pull-ups. Set of 20. Hadn't done that in a while. I think that's like the Marine standard, just 20 pull-ups. I need to go to one of those fairs that has a pull-up bar. If you can do 10 or 12 or whatever, go up there and fucking work 30. All right, how much time? 3 minutes until wake up bar stool. Both arms at once. Hammers, reverse. Okay. All right, guys, please check out Wake Up Barstool going live on all channels right now. It's Friday. We need everybody to have a great weekend. We need everyone to be absolutely dominant, relentless in pursuit of whatever it is they want in life, and just absolutely not give a flying fuck about any of the haters, what anybody thinks, what anybody says. Just get after it, get after them, and dominate the rest of the fucking week. Have a great weekend. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.